Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Flow control comparison, CMB V10s versus Nukatap, dealing with fruit flies, brewing a pastry stout, an oversized tap handle damaging my faucet's lever. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 294. Well, hello, and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call, leave a voicemail, get a $25 gift card to 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubbe, and I am joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com down there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Hey.
I have an issue. I can't edit it out because we already started, and I'd be embarrassed. But I have a straddling hair from my eyebrow. Getting older. In 1 year, I went bald. I'm getting a little pudgy. My eyebrows just took off. I don't know what's going on, guys. And y'all tell me it doesn't get any better when I'm not even 40.
You're not even that old.
I know.
It's going to get a lot better for you.
Yeah, James. Once I was complaining, I have a bum neck from jiu-jitsu, and you'd think I'd find a new hobby, but just can't stop wrestling dudes. And his dad, Todd's dad, who is 87 now, 87, 88. He was like, your body gets much better once you hit 80. I don't think
you'll be fine.
I don't think that's true. And Todd, you're having disc issues again, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're disc issues.
Well, I mean, but you're having...
I bet my neck hurts.
Yeah, similar symptoms.
My back hurts. Yeah.
Your back hurts. That's the
but they call it, when you're having problems with a disc, it's your back that hurts, but they call it your neck. But I mean, to me, your neck ends right here.
Right. Yeah. Or your back.
For doctors, your neck ends halfway down your back or something. I don't know. Yeah.
Or I thought it was the other way. Because when I talked about having shoulder and neck issues, the doc was talking about it. It's my back is what he kept calling it. I'm having C2 through C4, I think, is where he was like, if you did an MRI, we can tell you for sure what's wrong and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, how much is that? And I think an MRI was right at $7 And I was like, nah, I'm all right. I'll sleep it off. And funny enough, actually, I slept wrong a week ago, and that hurt me worse than jujitsu. I'm getting to that age to where you can sleep wrong. And I sneezed hard on Tuesday and my neck hurt. This getting old thing, guys, it's a weird thing. And I say getting old.
Yeah, dude, you're 30-something years
36,
old, right?
Yeah, I'm 36.
Let's get to the homebrew questions. Nobody cares about your piddly 36-year-old health issues.
I want sympathy, which I won't get in our in our feedback or any of that. No, most of the time people. Right. But all right, so yeah, small talk before we get to the questions and listener feedback that I do have planned for this week's show. Just a reminder, we've been saying it every day or every show for the last few weeks. I'm going to be up there next week, and we are going to do the alt beer taste test using Old Mecklenburg and some actual Dusseldorf alt. Really, it's just an excuse for us to drink good alt beer is what we're doing. But
I'm ready.
You got to pick a night, James, whatever works best for you. I'm there Monday through Thursday. I was thinking Tuesday night or Wednesday night. You come to the barn and we'll film it there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have my daughter next week, so
hey, and
yeah,
that's my favorite part of coming up to the ranch is I don't have my daughters. Hey, it. My wife doesn't watch this. I can say whatever. I have to do the line thing to her though every night. She's like, "Oh, we all miss you so much." I'm like, "Oh, me too." As I go lie down in a bed without a kid in it and have the best night's sleep I've ever had in my life.
Whiskey and cigar
Whiskey
on your breath.
and cigar on my breath.
Beer, whiskey, and
Yeah.
cigar on your breath.
She started following me on Instagram after never using it for a decade, and she's like, "Wait a second, those aren't work chips." I was like, "Yes, it is, honey. You don't understand. It's so hard."
That's what we do.
What we do. So yeah, that is coming up. That will be next week's episode 295, which reminds me, guys, we're not far from episode 300. I would love to solicit some voicemails or feedback or whatever from the listeners that I can just have a slew of stuff to play on episode 300. Maybe y'all's favorite moments from the show or any questions you have that are homebrew related or not. We did this on episode 252. I thought it went well, where we had a lot of people asking, just the random questions and minutia of stuff that'll make the show more fun. But Todd, here's what's weird about Zoom. Your computer or something must be sending a signal of some sort, because it keeps going over to and James too. How interesting. I don't know if y'all noticing that on the chat. I could probably edit this out, not a big deal, but it's just weird. It keeps showing that noise coming from y'all's side when y'all aren't talking at all. Zoom and our mic, I gotta get y'all better equipment, I think is what it boils down to. We've been having mic issues the last, I say mic issues, I think it's y'all's little codec. No, I think it's the actual codec issue. The bots, I think those are finally giving out. They're like 5 years old. Anyway, I'll move on from it. So yeah, the alt beer taste test. Also, while I have everyone's attention and totally on topic this month, bada boom, right there. If you're in any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, you're going to get a delicious West Coast pale ale, handcrafted ale. Yes, that is the exact artwork from the Sierra Nevada clone we based this off of, but I changed some words around so that it would be legit. But anyway, go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club or go directly to patreon.com/homebrewhappyhour. Join one of those. If it's your first time, you're going to get a premium welcome pack, which is always cool because it comes with a shirt, comes with pint glass, comes with some stickers and some other swag, some keg labels, all that fun stuff. We take care of our members and we appreciate everyone in the Chub Club at all tiers. And even if you're just a member of our community and you don't give us money, but like Todd says, if you did give us money, you'd be a lot cooler. Anyway,
a lot cooler.
So anyways, that's probably the quickest I've gotten us through small talk in a while. It might be a quick episode. Y'all are busy and these questions are all kind of straightforward. So before we get to the questions, it's time for listener feedback. Our listener feedback this week comes from our buddy Danny from North Carolina about smoked beer.
Hello, guys. Listener feedback from Danny in North Carolina. A few episodes back, you were discussing Rauch malt, i.e. smoked malt, and someone, perhaps Todd, described smoked malt as roasted, as if it were a specialty grain. I might have been mistaken because I was out jogging while I was listening, but that's what I inferred. The smoked malt that I get from More Beer is Beechwood smoked, and it can be used as a base malt. I believe that it has enough diastatic power to fully convert itself. No one on the Homebrew Happy Hour crew seems to care for smoked beers. I would encourage you all to try the smoked porter recipe in Brewing Classic Styles by Zana Shelton Palmer. If you try that recipe and you still don't like smoked beer, then at least you tried the best before you called it quits. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Great.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'd have to go back and listen to that episode, which, I'm not going to do. But I am 99% sure I never said I don't like smoked beers. I do like smoked beers, and never meant to give anybody the impression
it was definitely James
that I did not like smoked beers.
It was probably James.
No, it was totally me.
Okay.
And I was going to say the person who'd brew it, Danny, would have to be Todd, because I can't imagine James is going to want to. And I'm just telling you right now, I'm not going to brew it. I don't brew enough as it is. Todd, will you take on the task of brewing a smoked beer?
Yeah, I would. I mean, what I talked about, if I remember correctly, was wanting to try mesquite smoked beer sometime.
Yeah.
You
which
did. Yeah,
which
yeah.
I would just roast. It would not be. I would not consider it a base malt, even if it. Although technically it probably would be, because that's probably what I would roast. But I mean, in other words, I would roast a small amount of it and use it for the flavor. And of course, I guess a lot of specialty malts can still contribute to the overall alcohol level. It kind of depends on how much they're roasted and how far it goes. I guess they're all a little bit different, right, James?
Yep. If you remember, Shiner one year had a mesquite smoked beer.
Oh, they did. I didn't
Yep.
realize that.
I don't remember that. Was it good?
Yep. No.
Okay. Very straightforward answer. Was it good? No, of course it wasn't good. I don't get the appeal of the smoked beer, but again, people say that about my fashion sense. They don't get that. I mean, to each their own, right? Like I don't judge people. I think we've all been very clear on this show about that, where drink what you like, as long as you're enjoying it. Smoked beer is one of those ones I don't think I'll come around to. I just don't. I don't see it.
You know,
Yeah, they
the
called
other-
it Shiner Smokehouse.
I'm just going to look at. I haven't. If I remember, I mean, Beechwood is what Budweiser always talked about.
Mhm.
But I'm confused. Did he say Beechwood smoked? Oh, it was Beechwood smoked. See, that it's confusing to me because Budweiser literally puts Beechwood. If I understand it correctly, probably going to get called out on this. I think they actually put smoked Beechwood in their beer.
They do when it's lagering.
Yeah,
and
not a grain that's been smoked with beechwood, but actual beechwood. If I remember,
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a real good video of that on YouTube.
Oh,
on
there
how
is
the whole
Okay.
process. Yeah, I've seen it
So-
several times.
But what he's talking about is a grain
smoking.
that's smoked with beechwood. Beechwood
Right.
is extremely mild.
Yeah,
So I don't think it would be.
Punch you in
That
the
might be
face.
decent. I mean, it wouldn't for a guy that didn't care that much for smoked beers. It may be okay because it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be super strong. I mean, I've had smoked beers that tasted like you were smoking a cigar while you were drinking your beer at the same time. I mean, they're in your face, smoky.
Now, see, that's
Which
why
Yeah.
I like keeping my stuff separate. Like I like smoked meat, but I don't necessarily want my beer to taste like it. I like cigars, but I don't want my beer to taste like it. Like keeping a healthy separation, these all-in-one kind of solutions. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm saying that. I was about to say, it's like I like having a phone and an MP3 player, but that's not true because I have a smartphone and it's everything in all.
Dude, you eat omelets 3 times a day and only drink Coles. Come on.
I do. I sent them a photo yesterday. Oh, you were in the group chat, James. He thought he thought I was trolling when I left to eat. I didn't have breakfast yesterday, so it was like 11:05. And I was like, I'm gonna go get my lunch right now. And right when I leave, Todd calls because y'all had some questions. We were gonna do something on the website, but I was like, oh, I actually just left for lunch. It was like, what lunch? It's like 11. So as soon as I sat down, I'd go to Los Vega on San Antonio Street in San Marcos, Texas, for the last 16 years, so much that when I sit down, they bring me my tea. They already put in my omelet order. Now I'm starting to get a side of bacon with it. It's a veggie omelet, and they bring it out to me also with a side of avocado. It's the best service you could ever ask for. As soon as it came out, I sent y'all a picture. Like, look at
God, I hope I never walk in a restaurant, sit down, and they just bring me something. That would be terrible.
No, dude, it's perfect. When I find something I really like, yes, I settle down. About a month ago, I went there and I got their enchilada plate because my buddy Efren, who owns the spot, wasn't working that day, and it was his girlfriend or his wife. Pardon me, his girlfriend. Sorry, they don't watch the show anyway. It's his wife, but she's not normally there when I get there for lunchtime. She normally works like later than that. But anyways, She didn't know that ordering enchiladas was a different thing for me, but I told Efren, and he was shocked that I didn't get an omelet because it'd been a decade since I haven't had an omelet there. But anyway, Danny, thank you for that. Like I said, we're going to assign this task to Todd or someone brew it and send it to me.
I'll brew it. I don't
Okay.
mind brewing it, but what I mean,
Where did
we get the recipe?
He mentioned the book that it was from, or the source it was from. So I'll get you the recipe, Todd. We'll make sure.
Yeah, I bet
Okay.
it's online if we hunt it down.
Yeah, it will. Yeah,
Well, I mean, or maybe I just brew one I want to brew. But yeah, I'd like to see the recipe at least.
well, yeah, we'll do.
I think you ought to do a new recipe and use mesquite.
Yeah,
Not a bad idea. That's not a bad
idea. It seems like it would be such an unexact science, but that's all right, I guess.
I'm not going to like it either way. I mean, spoiler alert. Like, I just don't. I don't see a smoked beer in my life, even if it's subtle. It's like,
dude, is it a Kolsch?
I drink other things than Kolsch. I had last Friday. I had a blonde. Okay.
Oh God.
Or a lawnmower beer.
I had an American blonde, and it was great. No, and I had a Pilsner Urquell. I had some Urquell. I had some Urquell. It was delicious. Look, you blame James. I'm all about balanced, straightforward beers now. That's what I want in my life. Is just a German or a Czech, straightforward. Oktoberfest is coming up, guys, and I'm looking forward to just very straightforward fest beers.
I love a beer like that, along with every other style.
Yeah. Oh, whatever. You're just
except for I'm not a huge. I will admit I'm not a
sour.
I don't like a lot of. I like some sour beers, but there's certain strains that taste like vomit that I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah, it's called all sour beers. They're disgusting. Sorry. Yeah, 1-star review. Here we come. They did not accept my sour beer. Anyway, we do have 4 questions for the sweet show. Our first one is a voicemail from our buddy Peyton from Tennessee.
Hey, fellas. This is Peyton from Knoxville, Tennessee. My question is a pretty over-asked question. It's about the V10 flow control faucet, but it's basically around the length of the beer lines. I've always had trouble with foam and the length of my beer lines, and right now I use Nukataps. And I had no idea the Nukatap even had flow control. So basically I just wanted to ask you guys, how does the V10 compare to the Nukatap flow control? What are the pros and cons over it and over the inner tap? And is it a reality that I can have much shorter beer lines with the V10 over what I currently have right now, which are approximately all 6 to 8 foot beer lines? Thanks, guys. Love the podcast. Keep banging on.
Todd, before I throw it to you, it could be either one of you actually, because James is Mr. CM Becker. But I will recommend going back. We talked about this, I think, last week. We talk about it all the time. The video on DIY teaser build from the presentation. I would go back and watch that, where Todd and James walk you through his teaser build, where you'll see with your eyes. I mean, what are your liquid line runs? Are they even 4 feet long?
So, I mean, the answer to the question is it absolutely does not matter at all how long your lines are. They could be half a foot long. They could be 8 feet long. It just doesn't matter, because we're using larger ID. The restriction, it does have restriction, but the restriction on a 5/16 ID beer line is, I don't even know. I know that you need like 20 feet, a quarter inch, say, and I don't know how much. I mean, you would never restrict it by the length. It doesn't matter at all how long it is.
Yep.
Right.
That's true.
And now in comparing the faucets, we've kind of done this before in the past. People, Perlick for the longest time was kind of the industry standard of faucet upgrade, right? When people would think faucet upgrade. And we kind of had an episode on that. These Nukataps are pretty new to me. I think they're not, the functionality of them isn't new. They're just, it's like duo-types, right? Where they're John Guest. No, they're different. No, trust, it's a marketing thing right now. But James, what do you think when you're talking to someone about the V10s, which are top of the line for
I'm gonna
flow
grab
control?
a Nukatap while you're. I'm going to grab one while you're answering.
Nuka.
Nukatap.
Yeah, I'm going to grab a Nukatap. V10. By the way, there are more entry level, affordable, like the X2s. Pardon me. Which one's the flow control? X1s, thank you. I always get that mixed up. That, like, where price wise, that's probably more comparable to the Nukatap. But because the V10 is like the Cadillac of faucet
it's
solution.
a commercial grade faucet.
It's a commercial grade faucet.
I've got this kind of, I don't know if you can tell, but the CM Becker flow control faucets utilize what we call a compensator. And it's that white bullet looking thing. So you have to use our shank with our faucet because the compensator actually is what's causing the restriction. So what you're doing is you're balancing at the faucet with this adjuster. Now on the V10s, we can offer a lever adjuster or a hex adjuster so people can't mess with it. But that's the biggest difference between a Nukatap and a CMB V10 is we have full flow control through the shank. Whereas I think the Nukatap flow control is just a restrictor that comes out and restricts the flow into the shank, but not as detailed as this. You can actually completely shut the flow of beer off with the adjuster here, as well as the faucet handle as well.
Hey, and before Todd goes into the Nukatap that he's holding up, that's an inline flow control you're holding, and that brings a thought in my mind. What is the restriction like in regards to hose length if you're implementing an inline? Like if he wanted to keep his existing faucets that didn't have flow control on them and use inline, can you do any amount of length on either side? For
you want to put this as close. This is the outlet. The tapered side of the compensator is the inlet, so the flow's this way. You want this side, the outlet, as close as you can possibly get it to the faucet. And then with the inline flow control, what you've got to remember is you can't use 3/16 ID tubing with one of these because the restriction's already been created. You have to use at least 1/4 inch minimum low restriction hose or 5/16 for this to work. This works exactly the same as our V10 faucet. Same principle, just different product.
Right. So if someone wanted to implement that, they could do however short a line of 5/16 to their keg and however short a line of 5/16 to their faucet, and still be golden, right?
Once again, you want the outlet as close to the faucet as possible.
Right.
On this.
So let's say it's a 6-inch run on that side, and then whatever amount they need to get to the keg, and that would also be. I mean, it would still at the end of the day be probably less than a 3 or 4 foot run. I guess my point being, it'd be the same as implementing a true flow control faucet solution in regards to your line length of liquid line. Now Todd's back on the headphones. What do you got for us there, Mr. Burns?
So it's the thing that's really strange to me about the Nukatap is that when you get it, this compensator piece is not in there. So it's just kind of free floating in the box. I believe, just from looking at it, that it goes in this way, and then you put your tap on, and it fits the shank. Although there's probably some shanks out there it won't fit. I would worry about that a little bit because it's got this part that sticks out. But the shanks that we have here, it's fitting fine. And then all you're doing is you're just pushing that cone up and down a little bit right here. I don't know if, of course, a lot of you aren't watching this on a video, but you're just pushing that cone back and forth, and it's restricting inside of here. It's very little restriction. So what I've always said, the same thing with Perlick is, with our restriction, you're absolutely doing all your restriction with the tap. The length of lines don't matter at all. With something like a Nukatap, you're doing kind of fine tuning your restriction, but you still have to restrict with the hose itself. So that's what I would. That's the best way I can think of to describe it.
Right. And also, with full disclosure, it's hard for us to answer this without coming across as some biased sales. You know what I mean? Like these questions are always, I love answering them because I wholeheartedly believe in CM Becker products. Like y'all wouldn't be peddling them if we didn't feel like they were the industry standard and the best. But with that being said, then it comes across as infomercially. Oh yeah, of course they're going to say that. No. We read the reviews, and not just on Kekenich. And if you go to More Beer or Northern and you look at the reviews between faucets, or especially the Distonets, those are where people almost unanimously will agree, like, yeah, absolutely, get the real deal CMB Distonet. Don't get the knockoffs from overseas. And it's not comparing apples to apples. I think that's the important thing. That's what I'm
saying. So we're not really, you've got a standard faucet, you've got a flow control faucet, and then you got this thing in the middle that does a little bit of flow control, but not enough to make any difference. And the reason I shouldn't say not enough to make any difference, not enough to totally control your control it with that. All you're doing is fine tuning. You've got to restrict it already. And the reason they're doing that is very simple. It's because most people want to buy a faucet if they've already got a system that fits their existing shank. And with ours and a lot of other, any true flow control, not just ours, but there's a lot of them out of Italy. There's some out of China, all the ones that have real flow control where you can do all the control on the faucet. All of those are going to require a shank that's tuned to that cone that's used in the flow control.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And true. Yeah. It might be something worth recording beyond the podcast, a niche video, just because the follow-up question I know we're going to get is like, well, why do you say true or real? Like, it's not a derogatory thing. We just mean like there is discrepancy between what we're calling real flow control, true flow control, and what these other solutions are calling flow control, where it's like you said, Todd, it's not apples to apples, right?
Yeah, it's not apples to apples. That's the best way I think to describe it. Is we're not saying that these flow controls aren't good. We're saying that they're not a full flow control. They're just a minor adjustment.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And
something that you can use with existing tubing, the 3/16 tubing, existing shank, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And what you run into a lot of times is maybe you got beer that's a little too warm. Somebody left the cooler open. Maybe you've got beer that got slightly overcarbonated. And every time some little thing changes, you don't necessarily want to go in and cut longer beer lines and put new beer lines on. So it's a way to get some fine tuning in without having to go full bore into it and quite frankly spend the extra money. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and those X1s too. You were walking away to get the Nukatap when I said, like, if you were, because a lot of people too, James and I were discussing now, V10s are a commercial faucet. They're top of the line, beautiful. We have, great reviews from our commercial customers as well as homebrew customers, but the X1s are definitely friendlier on the budget if you're trying to accomplish true flow control into your home draft system. And that's what
I've got both at home. I have 6 V10s on my Keyser and I've got 3 X1s on my kegerator, and they both work great. Yeah, they're both work as far as actual what's going to do, which one's going to do better flow control. They're going to be the same.
Yeah, I was going to say we love the X1s. We have 4 of them on ours. We have T-towers on 2 kegerators, and they work great. So I would definitely recommend if it's a budgetary issue, I think the X1s are your go-to for sure. But not gonna lie, the V10s are stupid beautiful. They are so pretty. Like what was that car, that Corvette we talked about last week? The
C8.
The C8. They are the C8 of faucets, man. Because that's the first car in a long time, dude, where I stopped and said, that is beautiful. And every time I'm pouring a beer out of Todd's Keyser, I'm like, this whole build is beautiful. That's why I can't recommend that video enough of the DIY Keyser build. Todd, you built such a beautiful dispensing machine, and the V10s just kind of are the icing on the cake of the whole assembly. It's a real pretty thing, and the display TV in the back. I have to,
it's very nice.
Yeah, that was a great gift, wasn't it?
And it wasn't intended to be a gift with my own money. But anyways, Peyton, thank you so much for submitting the question. This is a great time to remind y'all, if and when we take your voicemail question on a future episode, you do get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. If you submit it through homebrewhappyhour.com on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or if you text it in, you still get a $15 gift card, which to me is still pretty good. So moving on, which is a text message from our buddy Charles at 325-305-6107. He wrote, how do you guys deal with fruit flies? Summertime seems to always bring them to my taps. Your advice is coveted. We get fruit flies. I've seen it in the brew room sometimes throughout the year. They happen. My dad and I do. We use the faucet brush plug, and when we're not using the faucets, because we're not pouring as frequently as your average bear does, who has kegerators at home. But even then, sometimes, Todd, we'll still get fruit flies around the faucets. Is there something you can do to completely keep them away, or is it just kind of preventative and maintenance stuff?
Oh, we have those faucet condoms that slip all the way over into the faucet.
We do.
That's probably not the correct term for them. But
James is holding them up too. The two solutions. The covers and the plugs. I think my pop and I have both.
I have an unlimited to supply to both of them. I could get whatever I want and put it on my faucets anytime that I want, and I don't do anything.
Yeah, you don't at home for sure.
I just leave them open. Here's the thing: when I'm pouring a beer, typically it's called a faucet plug. When I'm pouring a beer, typically because I have so many beers on tap, I'm not the kind of guy that just drinks the same kind of beer all the time. So every time I get a beer,
not a dig.
I'm usually getting a different beer, and there's always going to be a little warm beer at the end of the faucet, where it's kind of sticking out of the keezer, and you're going to get an off taste if you drink that beer, and it's going to be warm and could be kind of skunky. So I always pour like 2 ounces off.
Yeah.
And when I pour the 2 ounces off, it usually comes out this time of year with some fruit, with some flies in it.
Yeah.
What do you call them?
Gnats, fruit flies,
gnats, whatever.
Yeah.
And they come out, and I pour that out, and I pour a beer. And if I get a couple more in the next pour, it's probably a good source of protein for me.
You say the same thing about brewing with weevils. I love it. Nothing bothers you. Like we get questions sometimes we don't take on the show. I'll forward them to Todd. Like, this guy says his grain had a weevil in it, and you're like, not an infestation, a weevil. Yeah, he doesn't feel comfortable brewing with it. He goes, send it to me. Shit, I'll like.
You have no idea what's in your grain. You don't want to know. I mean,
you don't want to know.
The FDA has a certain percentage that you can have in there of
rat droppings or
rat poop and
yeah,
all kinds of poops. There's all kinds of poops and
pesticides and drugs.
It's also in your cereal and your bread,
yeah. And it's probably in my beard. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Weevils, weevil and wobble, but they don't fall down. They don't bother me.
Yeah. Well, but back to the fruit flies too. You're right. Like it's never. Now sometimes it will be bad if like the beer has been sitting there for a while, and by bad I just mean there's a bunch of them. But I've never had it actually affect anything beyond like, all right, the ones that we see we kill, get out of there. Like you said, pour an ounce or two off the top anyway because the line hasn't been poured in a week, and then you're pouring good. The beer's tasting better, it going through the line fine, and there's no more fruit flies hanging out there. But when you do use a plug or a cover, which is funny because what you just called the faucet condom, which is what I want to call it now. The faucet condom is called a faucet plug on the site, but it's not a plug. The brush one that James is holding up, that's a plug. Mm-hmm. It goes in and seals it. The other one just goes around it. I think we need to rename. That's the brush plug.
Faucet. So we want to name it the faucet condom.
I think we should call it the faucet condom. I think that marketing wise, we might have something. This might be the new big hit. This year, beer line cleaning kits has been our hit. Maybe 2024 or 2023. I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe 2023 is the year of the faucet condom, Todd.
Yeah. Yep.
And I say that. What do they sell for retail? Are they even a
40
buck?
cents.
Yeah. I was gonna say they're not even a buck.
They're 40 cents.
I'm going to sell 1,000 of them and change our lives. But
and whoever does our listings,
oh no,
has a photograph of our faucet condom called the faucet plug, and it looks absolutely nothing like what we sell. Absolutely nothing.
I don't remember doing that. It might have gotten outsourced. No,
yeah, go look at it when you get a chance.
I will forget to do that. No, the faucet condom we will. But yeah, dealing with fruit flies. I mean, I don't know. Like in my kitchen, it's the rule of thumb is like don't let fruit sit around too long in the trash or let any trash or whatever. Is in the brew room, I don't think that applies. Is it just a beer? Like where are they coming from? Like when they're around your taps, Todd, are they coming from outside and then laying their eggs there and that's how they start? I don't even know the like gestation period, not trying to go too deep, but like, is there some rule of thumb stuff? Like you clean your lines every 2 weeks, give or take. Is that going to help prevent fruit flies?
When I was in college, I finally got through biology with maybe a 70. So you're asking the wrong guy. I don't know how they breed, how they reproduce. I don't know any of that, but they're just around. They're usually just around during the summer. And again, if bananas is, I think they all evolved from bananas because somebody brought some bananas into my barn the other day and left them there, and now I have the flies. Now I have them in my beer.
Oh, that was me. I'm sorry.
They all come from bananas.
I did. I left. I thought, but the bananas were in your fridge. Did someone take them out?
Oh, okay. So you are the one that brought
I did.
them. Yeah.
I bought bananas and blueberries, and I accidentally left them all there in your fridge.
Oh, okay.
And a half gallon of milk that never got even opened. I had it all planned out. I was going to kill.
I've been using it for coffee, so thanks.
Oh, perfect. I was going to kill a box of cereal one night. I had it all planned out, and then you gave me too many whiskey drinks, and I passed out before I could get to the box of cereal I planned on demolishing.
It's amazing when the healthy choice is too many whiskey drinks.
I know, right? It is. I probably
it was actually healthier than you eating an entire box
100%. Which let me Charles, thank you so much for submitting your question. This is a great segue to our third question. Another text message from our buddy Dustin at 325-305-6107. Josh, here's a cue for the show that you gents will probably laugh at. I want to brew a stout that tastes like Golden Crisp. Yes, that Golden Crisp. I have never used any sort of weird ingredients in my mash. I'm not sure where to begin. Do I just add a box of it to my usual milk stout recipe? What would you do? I make 5-gallon batches. I can answer for them.
Well, I have to say one thing first. I don't normally, as you know, I rarely read the questions before the show, but I did today because you sent them at a good time.
Yeah.
And I had to go ask James what that was. I'd never heard of it.
You never had
believe that.
Golden Crisp has been around since you were a kid, dude. I think it was called.
My parents.
It was Sugar Crisp, though.
My parents never bought cereal with sugar in it.
Really?
I mean, the sugariest thing I ever ate was like Life cereal.
I was actually pumped. It made me want to go get. My wife normally gets Frosted Flakes and honeycomb and Honey Nut Cheerio and Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and now I want Golden Crisp. I haven't had it. My dad, when I was a kid, he would get it because he would sing the song, "Can't get enough of Super Golden Crisp. It got the crispy crunch." Yeah, I heard that song.
Yeah, and that thing was introduced in 1948 at the World Fair.
Was it really?
Yep.
No.
And the whole point of it is to have a cereal that tastes a lot like the candy coated Cracker Jack.
It is addictive like crack too. It's
Wow.
Golden Crisp was. I loved it. It had the little bear on it and everything. But anyway, the short answer, I know what Todd would say is you wouldn't brew with cereal probably because you don't really keep cereal anyway, probably from your traumatic childhood of not having sugary cereal. I can't believe it, but
I mean, I don't really like sugary cereal, and I definitely don't like sugary beer.
Yeah.
So
I
mean, I'm being facetious. I mean, obviously, the problem you're going to run into, and I'll let James go into it in more detail, but the problem you're going to run into is, I think all that sweet is just sugar. It's just going to get fermented, right, James?
Yeah, it's all the sugar in any kind of cereal, and you could throw it in. I remember one of the first YouTube videos I ever saw about mashing. They did a Will It Mash episode. It was a couple of older guys, and they mashed in a whole box of Fruity Pebbles.
And a 5-gallon batch? Was it a 5-gallon batch?
It was a 5-gallon batch. Okay. They did a whole bag, and what they were doing is the whole beer was a wheat beer, and they added a whole box, the biggest box they could find of Fruity Pebbles, and they said that it just added more gravity to the beer. It had a higher alcohol percentage, but they did say it had hints of Fruity Pebbles. So
yeah.
If you're going to do that, I was talking to Todd about it earlier, and Golden Crisp has like a caramel coated puffed rice with lots of sugar.
Right.
If you're wanting that note to come through, it's going to be covered up by all that dark malt, that dark roasted malt. So try it on a 5-gallon batch, throw a whole box in there and see if you can tell a difference. I'd be willing to bet you probably can't because of the roasted malt's going to cover up a lot of the hints.
I thought of one more suggestion after we talked, James.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I think you should add some lactose to it.
Because it's already a milk stout recipe.
Because it's already a milk stout.
Wait,
okay, I didn't hear that.
He did.
So because the lactose that you're using in that milk stout is going to give you that creamy milk flavor, but also it's not fermentable, so it's going to give it a little bit more of that sweetness. So that may help a lot. The lactose in that recipe may help the situation.
Yeah, it is already. He will already have lactose, so yeah, that will cover. I think maybe that's where. So what he's describing is a pastry stout, right? Just a brewing a stout to replicate a dessert or a sweet thing, and in this case, Golden Crisp. This is a great time to solicit some listener feedback on, because there are weirdos in our audience that are like, I brew with Golden Grams every Friday, or whatever they do in their life. Right after my
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
See, well, that's what I would do. That I was thinking. I texted Dustin back like, well, first off, buddy, substitute that with some Cinnamon Toast Crunch and you'll be better. But it got me thinking, I haven't had Golden Crisp since probably my moving out of my parents' house. I need to go buy some.
Oh, it was
Golden
one of my
Crisp.
favorites when I was a kid.
I'm gonna kill a box.
If I was going to do Golden Crisp recipe, I would stay away from a stout or a milk stout.
What would you do?
Because it's going to cover up the whatever you're trying to go for in that. I would probably just do a light beer of some sort.
A Golden Crisp pale ale? No way.
A Golden Crisp Kolsch. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, maybe that, you know what? That might be one I can look past. I mean, a Golden Crisp blonde. I'm not a snobby German from Cologne, but it wouldn't be a Kolsch. Like, you can't call it a Kolsch. But
I just think that the really dark roasted malt that you typically use in a stout, it kind of overpowers everything else.
Right.
I think if you brewed one with it and brewed one without it, I don't know if you could taste a whole heck of a lot of difference.
And in this case, it's different than because I know I can hear already in my inbox people being like, well, the breakfast stout and coffee and this and that. But the dynamics of what coffee does for the flavor versus what this other grain is going to do is not comparable. The coffee pierces through. You're saying this wouldn't pierce through. It would just get fermented out. And
most of the sugars, the caramel, you might, I would be curious to see how much of the caramel you could taste that would come through. It would have to go through the pronounced bitterness of the dark roast, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And when you're, in your opinion, if you're using grains from breakfast cereal, are you going to include some rice hulls to be safe? Like, is this stuff that's going to get so thick it's going to cause a stuck mash? Or what concerns might you have while mashing?
If you see that puffed rice, I could be wrong. Always have some on hand in case that is an issue, but I think once it starts to mash and the sugars break down, that puffed rice is going to disappear.
Okay. All right. So
it is possible. So, that's a good point to bring up, maybe put a half a pound in there just to be safe. But
I just wonder, because have you ever mashed with any kind of grains like this, similar to breakfast cereal?
We've done, we did Bob Toots cream ale. We were using
corn flakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, flaked corn, not the cereal corn flakes.
Or no, we were doing rice. Weren't we on that one?
Or it's both, I believe, dude.
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident.
And then we switched to rice syrup solids, but
or what was that? The flaked rice, that stuff was like just powder. It just dissipated. I liked that. Bagging it wasn't so much fun for the recipe for the Chub Club a couple months ago.
Right.
But, and people, as they brew it, a lot of them posted in our private Facebook group for Homebrew Happy Hours Chub Club. And the feedback on that one was great. Everyone loved that Bob Toots. They forgot how straightforward and delicious that could be. But yeah, that used flaked rice, flaked corn. But that's as weird as my mash has ever gotten, is throwing flake corn in there.
Yeah.
But like you said, maybe.
But if you want to lighten your body of your beer out, that's the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
With corn and rice.
So Todd, can we get you to do a smoked Golden Crisp pale ale? Can we? Maybe?
No, that's more up your alley.
I'm gonna buy Golden Crisp, but I'm not brewing with it. I'm eating it. I'll post it on our Instagram when I have the contraband or the product in hand. And that's my problem too. I'm $1.75 right now because it's hard to lose 10 pounds when you eat half a box of cereal every night of your life.
We could do a light lager, Golden Crisp lager.
A Golden Crisp lager. You know what? I like the play on words too.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll brew one.
Okay, deal. The play on words too. Who doesn't like a crispy lager? And this is a golden crispy lager. I'm going to hold you to it. I want to
Golden
Yep.
crisp lager. I
Gold-
like it.
and-
That's a good name.
And no one's going to think that it's a cereal. They're going to think that the golden refers to the color and the crisp is
Yeah.
the taste. I like it. The golden crisp.
And
And
then
I
I'm
bet
just
you no
gonna
one's going to
use-
know the difference.
I'm just going to use a base Pilsen malt and just to see if I can get the flavor to come
90 Pilsen, 10 golden crisp, or what kind of split you think you'll do?
through.
80
That's very light, though. That
Yeah.
stuff's really light. I don't
You're
know.
right. 60, 40.
I mean, I don't know how much a bottle. How much is a? I don't care.
The
I
box
was gonna
size
say
is
how many-
I buy. The box size is I buy, or the double family pack. That's what I call 2 bowls of cereal. The double family.
Okay.
Well, I'll probably get that you can get the big bag,
Yeah.
the knockoff.
Oh, no. Listen, take it out of my funds. I will buy the real thing.
no kidding.
No knockoffs here, pal. Not especially knockoff. You don't.
I mean, it's bad enough. The name brand of it's probably tastes bad enough. So
how dare you? How dare you?
It's actually one of my favorite cereals.
It's
I really
it's
like
an
it.
incredible
Yeah.
cereal, and like I said,
Really good.
the more we talk about it, Todd, I think that's what I'm having for lunch. I'm gonna go to HEB. I'm gonna go buy a box.
Yes.
I'll send you a picture of with that, and maybe
I like Raisin Bran is the only sweetness I like in a cereal, and then my absolute favorite though is grape. I love grape nuts. Mm.
you don't act like you're healthy. We all have eyes. We just,
I don't eat it because I'm healthy. That's
Oh,
what I like the
you
best.
genuinely like the taste of Raisin Bran?
And grape nuts. Yeah,
That's
I
disgusting.
like to mix them together.
That's disgusting. I don't know.
Hey, I grew up on both. So
Did
my
you-
grandmother always had either, she usually always had both in the cupboard.
See, my grandma, especially my mom's side, the Mexican side, she spoiled the crap out of me where it would be like, oh, for breakfast, she'd either cook eggs and bacon or here's a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, mijo, have at it. And then for lunch, whatever, we'd have sandwich and Oreos. I got a sweet tooth early on in my life, and I don't regret it. My dentist probably thinks I should regret it, but jokes on y'all.
What
I
are you
don't go to the
talking
dentist.
about? The dentist. That's how he's putting his son through college right
Yeah, that's
now.
how he has. Nope, because joke's on you. I don't go to the dentist. Can't get a cavity if you don't go to the dentist. Anyways, Dustin, thank you so much for submitting that question. If you use the Golden Crisp, let us know how it turns out. And if anyone else is brewed out there with cereal and you have some feedback, let us know. Leave a voicemail at 325-305-6107 and get yourself a $25 gift card to KegConnection.com. Our fourth and final question was from our buddy Joseph P. using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. He wrote, I love the podcast. So much useful information and entertainment for my daily drive. He's right. Here's a question I have. After buying a large, elaborate tap handle, the stain is huge and heavy. I love it, but now I'm concerned that it might damage the lever inside my faucet. Have you ever seen a faucet get damaged by a handle? I'm using it Nukatap if that helps. Keep up the great work, fellas. Joseph P. You have, James. You've seen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we used to get
all of them are.
boxes. Yeah. Yeah, we would get we supply faucets to a company that does the draft equipment for Twin Peaks. And we would get from time to time we get a box full. And if you've ever been to Twin Peaks, they're slamming those up and open and closed.
I bet.
And they got tap handles this big, you know?
From their commercial suppliers, right? Yeah.
Right. And
And they're, I mean, that's almost every faucet you see damaged, it's the lever from too big of a tap handle. And I'm talking about standard faucets too. I was going to take this Nukatap apart, but I can't. There we go. Yeah. It's a pretty standard
Lever.
lever, and it will definitely could get bent by a big, definitely could get bent by
James,
one.
with some of the creamer action ones, do you find, does that also lend itself to
yeah.
more damage because
Think
people
about
go way too hard?
a longer lever means more work.
Yeah.
It can create more work. In other words, more force. The longer the lever it is, the more force is exerted on the other side of the faucet handle. So and I think, Todd, maybe the shaft and seat in the center is stainless steel, isn't it, on that one? Or is it plastic?
Yeah, it is, yeah. So,
Okay.
Well, the shaft and seat or the...
Yes,
I'm sorry, I
shaft
thought you were
and
talking about
seat.
the lever. I'll look at it while you're... I think it is plastic.
I think it's
It's-
plastic.
Plastic.
I saw it.
I don't know how it comes out. It's plastic. I can see it.
Okay. So if it's
How the hell
plastic
do you clean this thing?
and the lever's stainless steel, you got to be careful because you can damage the plastic. We
Oh,
call
yeah?
it the shaft and seat, but it's actually the inside shutoff or the valve that shuts the flow of the beer off to the faucet that interfaces with a handle. And we ran into quite a few of the X1 faucets that we would get in that were broke. This was a 28-degree beer dispensing system. So not only was the faucet body super cold, but they had these long tap handles and they're slamming them open and closed. We've seen faucet bodies ripped in half from it.
Ripped
just got to be careful.
half?
If you're going to put one on it,
Ooh.
just use it and be gentle.
Well, the important thing to remember, the way a home brewer, the typical home brewer treats something is a lot different than the way some guy working in a bar treats it. You know?
Totally.
You're going to be a lot more careful. But the great unknown is those drunk friends of yours. They're going to screw your crap up, dude.
He's not talking about me.
No.
Y'all don't look at me like that, viewers at home. I know who he's talking about. All his non-employed drunk friends, because I've been around on your system, and it's the same thing that when you go to a football game or any stadium thing, and you see how they treat the handles and the system's so untuned that it's just it's a depressing thing for someone in the industry to watch all the beer wasted. And like you said, they're going to think the faucet's garbage because they're treating it like garbage and be like, oh, this damn thing don't even work anymore. And like, yeah, because look at what you're doing. I never thought of it because I've never had elaborate tap handles. Is that one of the reasons y'all just keep it simple on y'all systems? Like just the European style rounded handles is all I ever see y'all use.
That's all that we need. And the elaborate tap handles are expensive. If you go on eBay and you try to get something like that, they're fairly high. So I just don't like them because they put too much force on the shaft and seat, and it just needs a little knob.
The regular faucets like people have been using forever, like 100+ years. They actually are kind of made. The lever's kind of made to break because they would rather it break than bend and mess up something inside. So we sell a lot of those standard levers, both in stainless steel and brass.
Yeah, and they're very easy to replace, and they're very affordable. So that does make sense. Now that's me thinking, because my pop and I use chalkboard ones that are big, and you see people when the two things that annoy me, or the three things that annoy me about my family and friends that come to my dad's house at events and pour beer. One, the handle has this long shaft to it, and then the chalk written part at the top. You could grab the handle and pour. They always grab the writing every time. It's like now, instead of it saying pressure pills, it says pressure pills, because these dum-dums grab it from the top. Like, no, that's why the shaft is there. Grab it there, you dummy. The second thing is the pour. They'll pour it.
So that bothers you, huh?
Oh, I hate you. I hate you so bad. But yes, it does. Yes, if you come down to Man Shack just to annoy me, that will be next level trolling. But then
he will.
But yeah, and then the next thing though is when you show them the creamer function, I've seen it a couple of times. They go, oh, exactly, violent to where now I'm thinking maybe I should replace those levers, because a couple of them, the creamers aren't working like they used to. Like it's very unfortunate. I bet you
They're probably just stopped up. That hole's real small, so if you're doing a cleaning, run it back through the faucet head and then hit the creamer function.
I'll try that first. I'll try, because we have had bent levers, and that's usually pretty obvious when you have a bent lever. Like it's a lot more obvious. But yeah, the people when you get big elaborate handles, I guess there's some user concern you need to operate with going into using them. But like y'all said, at a bar, those bartenders don't give a crap about the faucet or the handle. They're just trying to get the product out as quick as possible. And that's not always a good combination. So I learned something today too. So obviously people do what you want. Having cool, elaborate handles is aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. Just let it be known it's adding additional wear and tear to your faucet, right? That's what we're getting at.
If used incorrectly, it can. Yeah.
Just be gentle is the thing.
Yeah.
And whoever is using your equipment, let them know. Don't just let any of Todd's drunk friends come over to your house. And that's the
it doesn't work, Josh. You just have to fix it.
That's fixing. Have we told the story of me replacing the post yet? No.
Yeah, you just have to fix it. You can't control drunk friends. They're uncontrollable. I mean, you remember what happened with your camera that you left for me and Eric.
Oh, don't even want to talk about that.
I forgot about that.
The best part.
You still have that video?
And I only got the video like 2 weeks after it happened, after Todd thought like there would be some statute of limitations to my anger. Oh, you know what we'll do? He left his cinema camera here. And it's not even mine. That's the problem. It's Todd's, technically. It's Homebrew Happy Hours. So he always throws that back at me. Like when the battery pack that his buddy Eric did end up dropping, if it had busted, Todd would be like, you can't get mad. It's mine. I'm okay with it. I'm okay if it's broken. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just saying that to make me mad. That's all you're doing. And it's working. That's a different story for a different time. I'm ready to wrap up the show. Joseph, thank you so much for submitting the question. Guys, that is all I have for this week. I will be up there next week. I cannot wait to do the alt beer taste test, and I will bring you the box of the real Golden Crisp. You don't have to brew it next week at your leisure, but you're not using some off-brand HEB Hill Country Fair garb. We are using, I think it's Post Golden Crisp. Yeah. That's what we're using.
I'm going to need a couple more. This is still bothering me, and I can't imagine trying to brew with this.
No. Well, if anything, I'll bring a bunch of boxes so we can just eat them, and then whatever's left you can brew. I didn't know it was your favorite cereal. I love that.
I love it, yeah.
So, anyways, guys, I'll catch y'all next week.
All right, thanks.
See ya.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or you know you want to be Todd's best friend, so leave us a voicemail to 325-305-6107. Hey, get a free pack of Imperial yeast along with premium, delicious, insert better words than that here, recipes from us when you join our Chub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.